What is going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see in front of me, we've got some amazing sole plates that have graced us in 2024. These are my top 5 with a few extra honorable mentions. Let's hop into it. In the number 5 spot is actually a boot from last year, and we are gonna go through this entire list with just the top sole plates, in my opinion. These are the Lite Xfly 5s, and these are an incredible pair of football boots. This is one of my favorite sole plates because it perfectly bridges the gap between AG and FG surfaces. You get conical studs with little cutouts so that when you're on AG and on FG, you get a slight bit of extra aggression when turning and pivoting. This is an immense sole plate with a great amount of snapback to it. It's got a ton of flexibility and rigidity here through the forefoot as well. Got a great amount of snap and some torsional support as well. And it just feels incredible underfoot. It's one of the most natural and organic feeling sole plates on the market, and that is easily why it's number 5 on the list. Number 4 on the list is the Melia Neo4 series. This happens to be the beta model, but the non-beta model has the same setup as well. This is pretty similar to the Lite Xfly 5, but I think it takes it up just a little bit more. Not only does it still have that amazing natural feel, both on AG and on FG surfaces, but you have a really nice and even more rigid shank through the midfoot here, creating one of the most aggressive feeling boots on the market. It's very snappy. You do have a little bit of a flat stud here for a bit more push off compared to other conical stud patterns on the market. And then you have the external heel counter here, which just overall creates this incredible synced in feeling where you feel really tied down to the sole plate. And something this refined and this amazing easily deserves to be in the top 5 for me. All right, number 3 on the list is the Nike Vapor 16 Elite with its Air Zoom sole plate. Now, this came out last year and it was a really good attempt at the Air Zoom unit and the Air Zoom pocket, but I think this just takes it to that upper echelon where you've got an amazing amount of balance, symmetry. There's no more of those star-shaped studs, which I think were a little bit too aggressive even for an FG surface. You have back to chevron studs, which is kind of a standard for the Nike Vapor and Superfly series. And then they came out with this really nice wave texturing, which does a fantastic job of keeping you balanced and really feeling, I think, even more so than the last generation, that midfoot of the balls of your feet where you really are in contact with the Air Zoom unit. And overall, I just think the sole plate does such a nice job, has great rigidity through the midfoot, a good amount of snap despite it not having really that shank through the midfoot. And then this Air Zoom unit creates such a nice relief on your feet as you're playing both on AG and on FG surfaces. And for me, this is an easy pick for the number 3 spot. All right, in the number 2 spot is the Mizuno Wave Cup SS Japan. Now, Mizuno has spent a lot of time on this sole plate when they were developing it. The wave design here in the heel area, which you can kind of see through this translucent white material, it's a very nice and padded kind of bouncy feeling, almost like a, how would you say, like a pad of some sort. And then the rest of the sole plate is actually quite flat underfoot, but with the stud pattern where it is, they did a bunch of research on where the shape of the studs should be and also the location of where the studs should be. So overall, in my opinion, one of the most balanced and purpose-built sole plates for a boot that's a little bit more on the classic side, but with this sole plate feels very, very modern despite it being a couple decades old. All right, I've got two honorable mentions for the sole plate of the year. These are my number 6 and number 7, respectively, in no really particular order. Let's start off with the Diadora Maximus Veloce ITA SLX, which really surprised me, to be honest, both with the way that this boot fits and performs, but the sole plate is really, really responsive, given that it's just a conical stud pattern. It's got these Rotax studs here in kind of the ball of your big toe, which give you a really nice pivot sensation. And overall, I tend to prefer a little bit less aggressive studs overall, which is why so many of my top 5 boots have conical studs, and these are no different. It's exceptionally stiff, which I love. It's got a great amount of snapback. Outside of the number 1 seed, this has the most aggressive stiffness to it as far as boots go, and is really a wonderful option for comfort and performance from a stud pattern. And then the other honorable mention I have to put in here is the carbon fiber sole from the Under Armour Shadow Elite 2. These are really unique to play in. They're very narrow in the midfoot, so for those of you who have a wide foot, kind of like me, these boots will take a little bit of extra time to get used to and to break in, but overall this stud pattern is freaking awesome. It's maybe not my first recommendation for an AG surface, but for FG, these perform incredibly well. They've got a great amount of snapback to them. And of course, when most brands are going away from carbon fiber, to have a carbon fiber sole plate that also looks like this is pretty freaking awesome. So these are easily in the top 7, I suppose, of the sole plates of 2024. Kind of a surprise to most of you, the sole plate of the year actually goes to the Speed System outsole with the Fast Tracks stud design, and that is from the Puma Ultra 5 Carbon and non-carbon edition. My personal pick would probably be the non-carbon, but I have to put these in the number 1 spot together because they're not only the same sole plate, but this one in particular being designed with the F1 team, and the fact that they're a full carbon fiber, no BS. What can we accomplish as far as tech goes in a football boot sole plate? These have to be the number 1. They are so cool looking. They're absolutely epic. They are the stiffest things you've ever tried on the planet as far as football boots go. And I gotta tell you what, the Puma Ultra 5 has brought the absolute beans when it comes to creating the most purpose-built and purpose-driven speed boots on the market today. And that starts with this sole plate. They are amazing. I actually don't mind this version on AG surfaces. It still is probably a little bit too aggressive for most people, but for FG surfaces, both perform incredibly well, but this is an absolute killer as far as a purpose-driven, aggressive speed boot tooling. So number 1 for 2024, congratulations to Puma. These are the Puma Ultra 5 with the Speed System outsole with the Fast Track stud design. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up my favorite sole plates from 2024. We've got a lot of really amazing sole plates this year, including some stuff from last year as well, which still makes it into the top 5. But with boots like the Mizuno Melia Neo4 series, that's what you get when you have some of the best designs humanly possible. Now, these are my picks, but I'm curious to know down in the comment section below, what are your picks for the best sole plates of 2024? Let me know. Like the video if you got value from it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.